Hello, so this will be an endgame build, but it will be a more general one because I don't want to speak about the classes, I want to speak about the equipment, especially the weapons, the armors, the helmets, other aspects of the game, plus the oils and some other things as well. And I also want to show you one of the newer features, which is the helmet stamps, and what are the best helmets. And to be honest, at some point it doesn't really matter because your party will be overpowered, so it doesn't matter if you have 10 mercenaries or 4 mercenaries, the building principle is the same. 4 or 5 or 6 of your mercenaries will be the core of the team anyway. And they'll have the best gear and the most upgraded gear anyway. So before we start, I just want to mention a couple of things. Number one, remember you can buff your party with food. So as you can see, critical hit, critical damage, constitution and other things will be improved, especially for the harder fights. But I would recommend you at least have the 10% critical hit increased food every time. If you are currently, I think the meta is favoring one-handed weapons by a long shot. It's so good to have a one-handed weapon versus a two-handed weapon. If you have a one-handed weapon, you'll get the duelist trait, which is basically 5% critical hit chance and 5% critical damage. If you have a two-handed weapon, you'll get giant at some point. And giant is just 5% strength or dexterity when a two-handed weapon is equipped. Plus you can use the shields are amazing as well. I'll mostly be using the Alazarian header shields just because of how crazy good they can be with attack of opportunities and some other things if you think about it. Also, why is that 100 and why is that 108? No idea, don't care, don't care. I also want to add another thing is that a lot of the weapons were nerfed, especially the weapons you can upgrade from the tombs and some other ones. But more or less it's the same thing, but mostly the two-handed weapons are nerfed. So considering that, this is how I will build my party. Heavy armor, medium armor, and then a dagger and a bow, which will cover most of the classes anyway, because if you're using an axe or whatever weapon you have, it will depend on the armor type and the helmet. Now, let's go over the helmets. So the helmets, well, I think I showed them a little bit, and besides, there are a lot of helmets. Let me show you what you can do with them. These are the helmets you can craft, and usually 90% of the time you will craft your own gear in this meta of the game. Basically you will craft your own helmets and your own armors, because the armors will have 3 slots you can put layers onto them, and the helmets you can just disassemble them, get the stamp and put it on a helmet. The ones you can craft are very defensive to the point where I don't like them. The only ones that are more or less usable is the heavy ones, because they give you 6% extra guard, so that would be 18% extra guard. So this helmet will give you 28 guard on top of what your normal guard is. That's 60 guard, so basically you can even reach 90% guard if you just insist on it. Have the best gear at endgame, but again, that's taking it way too far. But you'll also be crafting the helmets, and you'll also be adding the attributes of the ones you can find. As you can see, we have the Brotherhood helmets, Deserters, Alazarians, Legion, Bandits, or I mean Outlaws, and then you'll also have the Trackers Guild. I'm not sure if the Tracker Guild will have all of them, but I assume they'll appear later. Some of the helmets might appear only after we reach max level anyway. We are level 10 only. And the funny thing is, some of them look really cool, but some of them have really good effects. So I'll just mouse over them, you can see what I found so far, but they're very hard to find anyway. And if you have a helmet that you really like how it looks, you can just do it like this. So you have the helmet, or you like the stats of the helmet, because some of the stats of the helmet will be much better. By the way, you can even find helmets that have all of the stats you need. For example, this one, it's a level 10 helmet. But as you can see, it has critical hit, guard, armor, and also willpower. So that means you can even find helmets with 4% critical hit chance. So yeah, you really have to grind for them, but that's too much grinding. So if it has some stats you like, or if you like how it looks, you can do it like this. That's your helmet. You put it off, you take it off, you go over here, select the Tinkerer, select dismantling, do it like that, dismantle, get some materials, the stamp. put the helmet on. As you can see, this is sharp fin, which is more or less useless. And then you can put this one on. So tada! You get the stats for the heavy helmet, but you also get the perks of the light helmet trait. Now, sadly, the light helmets will be one of the more rare ones, and it will be very hard to find. For example, this one, as you can see, is not very useful, and you will not have a lot of useful stats on them either. So yeah, the medium and the heavy ones are the ones that will benefit the most out of the helmets update. Again, I don't want to get into it, but that's how you handle the helmet business. That's how you do some of the other stuff. So let's go straight to the loadouts and I'll show you what I'm using and I'll tell you why. Let's reload the game. As a kind of a big warning, you can play whatever you like, but I'm playing on adaptive. Adaptive is the best way to play the game, and as you can see, if you're not playing on adaptive, you'll have a very hard time finding all of the things you need for an endgame gear type of setting. But at the same time, only 99% of players finish the sepulture, so I guess 99% of the players will not be interested in min-maxing all the way. So for the heavies, you'll have your armor, which you'll craft, and then you have the layers. Now the layers are a bit of an interesting discussion. I don't want to get too much into it, but you will put some of the guard and some of the armor ones, but not too many. Usually one is enough, and then you'll put critical hit and strength. You can put more guards, you can even put that helmet, which adds 6% extra guard, so that means you'll reach a very high level of guard, but it doesn't work like that. You need damage as well. So until this point, you probably bought all of your armors, but now you'll have to craft all of them. You can also skip some tiers, you don't have to craft them for everyone, but as soon as materials are available, craft the best you can craft and put the best layers you have, because you can also remove them and put it for the next set of armor down. Also, I love these Al-Azharian hitter shields. They're just amazing. They have good stats and they give you a lot of DPS as well. As for the maces, well, maces, like I said, I prefer the one-handed weapons. Very little exceptions. I still have a few weapons to get, but this is how I think I'll finish the game. And if I don't finish the game like this, it will at least be 100 hours played with this build. This is just great. As you can see, the extra damage, double damage, and crit is guaranteed if you have more strength, which means you'll crit medium and light armors all the time. But also animals, also the rats, also other enemies you'll crit. I don't want to get into it, but this is not really well explained, in my opinion. As for the world's infectious oil and sharpening oil, a big warning and disclaimer. The infectious oil works as damage after the turn. So that means if you attack someone with the mace, you apply the infectious oil, the damage will only be done at the end of the turn of the enemy. So it's kind of like fire or bleeding or poison. So damage will only be applied at the end of the enemy's turn. So they'll hit you back and then they'll die. That's the thing. As you can see over here, it will be usually I had the 5% critical ones, but they're not really good enough in my opinion right now. In the current meta of the game, they're not good enough anymore. So basically everyone had the stiletto, which is a 5% critical hit chance, but not anymore. Now they have the infectious oil, and this is the principle you'll be using all over the place. Like I said, you can basically dismantle the helmet and give him a much better helmet, which probably will be that other one, but since I don't have any replacements for that helmet, I'll not do it. But generally you want a helmet with more armor and more crit, and also more guard, of course. For my swords guy, we'll be using this sword. This strong blade is amazing. I don't know how developers could introduce something like this into the game. The same thing applies to the helmet. He has this helmet over here, which means you'll gain 1 rage every time he's attacked while engaged. So that means if the enemy attacks you and you're engaged, you attack back because of the shield and you get rage. And also because of the way this works, you can attack 4 times in a single turn. And then you have 2 more attacks, which is 5, and then you'll have 1 more attack, which is 6. That's a lot of damage over time. So basically this character will only grow much stronger as time progresses and in a battle. Besides, you'll also have this one. So you'll also gain rage from bleeding, poison, or burning. So you can kind of set an enemy on fire and let him attack this guy and he'll get to range. Again, it's going to be a very big spiral for his damage. As you can see, I crafted him some armor, and I just have some leftover layers because I was testing something else, but usually it will be the same. One layer with guard and armor, and the other layers will be with crit and dexterity. Said I didn't have anything else to put over here, but it's okay, don't worry about it. It's okay. He likes the strength. And over here, the dagger guy. Well, to be honest, I like this one for a dagger because you'll be able to chase down enemies and no one will be around. 4 meters. If you don't know what 4 meter is, you can kind of compare it to galvanize because this is also 4 meter area. So try to have that picture in your head. 4 meter from this aura. That's how far away you have to be from the enemy. Besides, you can sometimes go around the enemy and that will count as being outside of that 4 meter area. And you'll deal double damage, and with a crit you'll deal so much more damage, it's unbelievable. Plus, with his other skills, he can do a lot of things. This is not the final. I like the other class which throws the dagger and that inflicts bleeding more. But this is only temporary because this is not so useful, and as you can see it costs a lot of valor points. Sometimes you don't have them. The torch, so this is how I choose to build him. Again, I don't have a good armor for him, but believe me, he doesn't need it. Again, that's the whole point. You can do 50% of the build, and that will work very well. So keep in mind you can also get 25% extra damage against poisoned units. He poisons when he attacks from behind. In the current iteration of his class. I'll change him a bit later, but for now he does so much damage you don't believe it. As for the archer, he's kind of like the centerpiece. Now the Wall of Burning, the Wall of Acid, this is not really a good headdress for him, but I didn't find anything better for a light armor anyway. Technically I could use this, but he doesn't inflict poison damage. You can put some poison damage on the bow, but that's way beyond the point. So again, use whatever helmet you like. I just like it because I can disengage from an enemy and then run away because he doesn't have a lot of movement speed. Same thing for the armor. Again, I have to craft a lot of armors, but since I'm not crafting the endgame armors and I don't have the right layers to craft for them, I don't even bother until I have the right ones. And that's another thing, as you can see, most of the level up points went into, guess what? Critical hit. As you can see, they have some points into their attack, but most of them is coming from their gear. And also from the food, so that means the stats that increase damage will be coming from the food, and most of the stats will go into critical damage. Stuffed cabbage, duelist, bloodthirsty, base value plus equipment. And I also like all of them to have 20 movement speed. Some of them have 22. The archer has less than that because he needs so much crit, it's unbelievable. The archer should have a lot more crit than that. So let's go over things again, and this time it will be a much shorter version. So I'll just show you the equipment they are using. Also, everyone at their level will have the secondary weapon unlocked. I think I should have mentioned this since the beginning. These skills are not really that good anyway. You can use them, they can be good, but I don't think they're worth it. So just use the secondary weapon. This way you can use a one-handed weapon or a two-handed weapon based on what you need, and besides, if you have a secondary weapon you can upgrade it as well, so it's a lot of work. So more or less they're all built the same, a lot of critical. More importantly, he has a bow that inflicts fire damage, the fire pit, so you basically throw a fire pit at the enemy and they have to cross it, so all of the enemies coming for you will have burning on them. And he'll also get a lot of rage from this because he'll attack at range. And if he, for example, if his fire attack hits 3 enemies, that's 6 rage because it's additive. It will add on top of each other. Glorious damage. So this is how I build my party currently. As you can see, you can manipulate the helmets a lot. You can make armors. You will have to craft armors, and then you have to have colossal layers on top of that. I don't really think it's worth adding smaller layers because it's just a waste of time in most cases. Also, I will not really even go into the food discussion because it's a lot of discussions. A lot of crit, a lot of range. You also have the different tiers of food. So yeah, let's just go and I'll show you how this party plays a little bit. Let me see if I can find a stronger enemy. Okay, let's search for the guard. When I want to be arrested, there's no guard around. Oh, here they are, coming from behind. But remember, the guard will always scale with you and they'll always be stronger than you, more or less. But thanks to our upgrades and some other things, will be much stronger than them.
You are wanted for a number of crimes. We will not let you...
Fight! Oh, this is perfect. Now, be very careful, because this particular build with 4 people is kind of squishy, because none of them really have a dedicated armor thing. Besides, like I said, I have to farm and grind so much for their shields and for their armors and for their helmets. You don't believe it. It's almost not worth it. So let's just play as it is right now. You will not be able to take a lot of hits. Actually, I let my archer stand over here. And I think we can hit 3 of them, yeah. This is the lucky one. And if you crit, they also get bleeding. So that's a lot of damage at the end of the turns anyway. So switch back to a regular bow. Try to be near a friend for that extra 5% damage. It doesn't really matter, but 5% damage, that's another stack of rage. So that's 7, that's 35% extra damage. That's insane in my opinion. And let's watch the fun. So he's already burning. He's not bleeding. But he has the infectious oil on him as well. He will get smacked 2 times. This guy will get inspiration, brutality. What more can I say? Did you see that amount of damage? Because he also got countered with infectious oil. So that means he had another stack of infectious oil damage on top of him, and that's why he died. Then just use tactical order. There's also a stupid little thing that you can use over here. Instead of the infectious oil, that will increase your damage by 10%, but that's not really worth it. You can also use other shields, you can also use other stuff, but again, it's not really worth it. As you can see, damage ignores the enemy's guard. Plus you deal more damage to armor. Again, I don't want to talk about their builds because they're not so important, but let's just continue the fight. He deals more damage to armor, he also ignores, of course, the enemy's guard, so that means he destroys armor like it's paper. Or like it's an apple pie or a cherry pie, depends on what you like. It's burning, but that's okay. Look at this. Again, that was not even a crit. And he almost died because of that. The only reason he didn't die is oh, they're so lucky my archer doesn't crit anymore. Usually all of these crits would have killed them. I guess now we get to see more of these effects. So if you think someone will die, again, all of them have all of the skills. It's super important. And this guy doesn't have anything. If he had the poison, oh, this would have been, if he had fire, bleeding and poison, you would have attacked so many times, but he inflicts poison damage and he will attack 2 times. He can do some other things as well. Again, it doesn't even matter, look at this. You can also disengage and he'll attack again. But let's use this. I can also upgrade his sword another time. I could end this fight right now. Again, this is how easy it is. You can kill all of them in basically 2 or 3 turns like this. This guy is dead. Not a crit, not again. 30 damage. He gets smashed in the face. And I also changed my loadout a little bit because you're not always going to be able to get a backstab. And also with the new meta, enemies will run away very far away, especially the archer. So look at this. Oh, I forgot he has the counter. That's funny. So... oh, he inflicted bleeding on me. That's interesting. That's interesting. So I basically lost a character because of the way the new mechanics are working. So as you can see, it's no longer as viable as it was before because of the enhanced visibility of the captain's bike coat. Well, this is an upgraded version. So as you can see, the helmets will sometimes have 2 versions of them. One a regular one, and the other one will have more stats. And this guy had the one with, but well, I guess it's more or less the same. I'm not sure the ones that have different stats, but again, it's so dangerous to attack the enemy right now because of their hats and some other things. You didn't even believe it. So he died. Oh, sad. So yeah, as you can see, times are changing very, very fast. And actually it's good that we saw this, because now you see how much this has changed. You can no longer attack enemies like you're immortal, and also light armor units are not going to be as strong. Everyone is depressed because he died. Dejected. That's quite a funny one. I never noticed this because no one died until this point. So you have to adjust to the game, and I feel really think now food is a lot more important because of the how strong the enemies are. And that was not even a max tier guard. That was only a more or less a medium tier guard. But the other units I can just shred. Other units will not even get close to my party because of those huge damage numbers, 200, 300, plus the damage from the counters, plus the damage from the poisons and all of the other things. Great, it's just great. See you next time, bye.